So, if you don't know, I really love the Flash TV show. But one thing I didn't like was how unmenacing the Thinker was, right? Like I love the Thinker, right? But but it's like he's like a watered down villain, right? How do I say this? He's good, but he really doesn't even do that much. Right, like with the Reverse Flash, he was super menacing, right? He killed the guy who killed Barry's mom and falsely imprisoned his dad is back. And when he tried to fight him, he was way faster and stronger than Barry. And then after fighting him like another time and failing, and his identity was revealed, he only defeated him with the help of other heroes. Then with Zoom, there was this mysterious person that you never knew, right? Who has this very menacing costume and demon claws, as Cisco describes it. Has blue lightning and can run so fast he can just open up a portal to Earth 2 just using his hand. And this guy is way faster than the Flash, right? And he broke his spine, or broke his back, right? Then with Savitar, there was this mysterious person who was so fast that not even the Flash could describe what he was seeing. If you don't know, a speedster has a slowed perspective, right? Because they're fast, they have to slow down their body, so then that way to everyone else they look normal, right? So they're not going so fast; they're actually going at normal speed. But because their brain goes at super speed, when they slow it down to them, it's like waiting forever. Like you would talk to somebody, and to them they would have to wait eternity before you would actually start talking, right? So with Savitar, when Savitar grabbed him, he was traveling so fast that to Barry they were just teleporting. I think that with Reverse Flash, he could actually keep up with him a little bit. And with Zoom, he could actually see where he was going. But with Savitar, he was going so fast that not even Barry could see where he was taking him. It was just like they were teleporting. And his identity was never revealed, right? And unlike the other villains, he actually gave clues. But they weren't enough for Team Flash to figure it out. And he knew unexplainable details about Team Flash, right? And they saw that when the Reverse Flash arrived in the past, he brought a news article saying that the Flash would vanish in a sort of crisis, and that the article was written by Iris West Allen. But then the name changed to somebody else. Right? And when they finally managed to figure out a way to finally trap Savitar back into the prison and the speed, and then when they tried to get rid of the Philosopher's Stone, because they thought that was allowing him to come here, when they finally figured out a way to do it, and when it was thrown into the Speed Force, the Flash was knocked into the future and saw that the plan doesn't work. Right? And that Savitar kills Iris. He didn't know that. Right? So now he knows that this guy is so fast, even from my perspective, as a speedster, he's just teleporting. Right? The Philosopher's Stone, which is apparently what allows him to go out of the Speed Force, well, we managed to get rid of it, but I saw in a glimpse of the future that he stabs Iris, right? And then when Barry goes to the future, he sees how bad the future is. He sees that Cisco lost his hands while fighting Killer Frost, thus his vibe powers didn't work. Harry actually had a good life and became a successful book author. Julian moved on and got promoted, but he was still sad. He was a little bit of a better person, but he still hated what happened. Killer Frost was captured, but she was in prison, and she was just Killer Frost, not Caitlin. And Barry locked himself in the time vault, looking at that article. And then when he finally got a shimmer of hope of actually trapping him back in the Speed Force prison, it turns out that Savitar was smart enough to not fall for that trick. Then Iris dies. Right? The only reason he managed to figure it out is because he went to the future. And he pieced everything together. Right? But with Devo, they already knew who he was. Early in the season, they already knew who Devo was. What they did was that they would monitor Devo's actions when he would just be, doing his normal thing, all the Devos in Central City, and then they would match it up with how Devo, the villainous version, would act. Bunch of science jumbo, meaning that Clifford Devo was the thinker, right? Right? He wasn't menacing. You knew who he was, which isn't a bad thing, right? Like, hey, a villain can be super fearful, and you can still know them, right? You can still know who they are, their name, their middle name, their last name. But he didn't even do that much. He got outsmarted by Barry a couple times, right? And his plan was to, right? And he didn't make himself look fearful. He didn't break Barry's, Cisco's, Caitlin's. He didn't break anybody's backs. What he could have done is that he could have like used a robot exoskeleton that would actually help him walk, and he used it to break Iris's back. Maybe what could have happened was that when the Flash was trying to fight him, Devo used his superior intelligence to make a machine that handcuffed him and had meta dampeners, so his powers wouldn't work. And then he would have to see Devo using his mechanical exoskeleton to break Iris's back. And then Devo would say something like, "I told you, Flash. Savitar and those speedsters were just kids with play guns. I finished the job that he started." Right? Basically like, hey, he's like, "I told you those speedsters were just kids with toy guns. And I finished the job one of them started." But like in a menacing tone. You could also use a voice filter to make himself more menacing, right? Right? What else? Maybe he should have created Velocity X, right? Maybe he was like, "Oh, I need to be a speedster to put some fear into him," right? Those speedsters, they were just toys, they were just kids with toy guns, but if I become a speedster, well, he'll fear me. But he realizes that if he fails, it's too risky. If he tries to do the accident that made Barry his powers, his body would be too weak to survive. So if anything went wrong, he would die, and he wasn't ready for that chance. So he created a chemical substitute using V9 as an example, Velocity X. And it made his lightning purple. Right? But he realized that he would need an unlimited substance. So he became a speedster. What he did was that he figured out that if he took some of Barry's speed, but he figured out that if he managed to get some of the electricity from the dark matter explosion, mix it in with the right amount of his DNA and dark matter, mix it up, and then inject himself with it, he could become a speedster. But he realizes that time is extremely fragile, and he's already calculated that he would easily be erased from existence if he tampered with time too much. So what he did was that before the particle accelerator explosion happened, he got some of the electricity. I'm trying here. I'm just making this up on the spot. But maybe what he did was that he went up onto the roof, and when it was about to strike, his exoskeleton protected him, and he made a electricity sampler that absorbed some of the electricity, only some, right? Meaning that Barry would still get his powers and everything, and he wouldn't have messed with time, right? Then he went to Star Labs when that happened, and he managed to sneak in and get some of the dark matter. But since his DNA was mutated because of the lightning strike, he went back in time and he managed to knock his past self out and get some of his DNA before he would wake up again. Then he made the chemical combination and injected it into himself, right? Which meant that his disease would take longer to catch up to him, but since his connection to the Speed Force wasn't as strong as the other speedsters, it wasn't gonna cure it. He even tried to tachyon enhancing that helped a little bit, but still only delayed the inevitable. So what he started to do was just inject himself with tachyons. His exoskeleton suit was upgraded, and now the inside was surrounded with tachyon enhancers. He had a tachyon enhancer wrapped around him under his suit. Over his suit too, he would inject himself with tachyons, and he also used that Velocity X substance he made. But since tachyons don't do any harm to him, and neither does his substance, he was way faster than Barry, right? So maybe when he was gonna beat him up, he would have punched him through a couple buildings, and then run up to him and grab him, and then stab him with a blade or something, and then quickly run back away, and then activate the meta dampener in it. And then when it was on, he would go up to him and say, "Reverse Flash already killed your mom. Zoom killed your dad. And I feel like killing your wife is getting old. So, after this is finished, I am going to kill Cisco, Caitlin, Joe, and then I'm gonna torture Iris. Then when that's finished, I will kill everyone at CCPD before fighting him more, and then winning, and then going off, right? Right, and what they should have done was make it so then that way we didn't know his identity, right? And what could have happened is that during the middle of the season, when he was fighting Flash again, he said that he would be like, the only reason you're alive is so you can tell the tales of who I am. But you're being a pain in my ass, or something like that. And then he would almost vibrate his heart out, but the Flash would stop him. But then, after that fight, when he opened up a portal to his miniverse, he was running in there, but then his speed just all of a sudden stopped and he fell. How the Reverse Flash tumbled after he killed Noah's mom? It's like that. And what could have happened was that he said that the Speed Force finally realized. The Speed Force finally realized that I wasn't an authentic speedster and manipulated time. Luckily, I didn't manipulate time enough for it to send in the enforcers on me. Just my connection to the Speed Force is gone. And I don't have an infinite supply velocity 9. And he would say, oh, what happens if I run out during the middle of a battle? Right? So what he would do is that he would do the experiment that gave the Flash his powers, and it would work. Right? And he would just do more menacing things. Like, what would happen is that when he would be fighting the Flash, Caitlin would use her frost powers on him, but because Flash didn't know about the exoskeleton, it would look like it was doing nothing. Caitlin would just try to freeze him to death, or like freeze him long enough for him to be put in a containment. But he would just stand there and nothing would happen. He wouldn't even have to phase. He would just stand there while she was just shooting ice at him and slowly walk forward. And then he would vibrate and grab one of her kidneys and take it out and say, go tell the tale, before running off. And then she would be hospitalized, right? And then with his vibration powers, the exoskeleton wouldn't actually absorb it. It would absorb the vibration. It would redirect the vibe energy all over the suit, right? What it would do is this. It would hit in one area, but then it would be smoothed out all over the suit, right? So it looked like Cisco's powers wouldn't do anything, right? And then whenever the Flash would punch him, his suit would absorb that energy and kinetic energy, and he would be injected with it. So the Flash would look like, if I try to punch this dude, kick him, anything, he somehow gets fast. Whenever Caitlin tries to freeze him using her powers, her frost powers, it does nothing to him. He doesn't even need to vibrate to let the ice go through him. Cisco's vibe powers practically hurt him, barely even hurt him. Right? And what could happen is that they try to use the machine they made on Zoom, right? When he said you can't lock up the darkness. But it wouldn't work. They would aim at his neck, but the suit would just absorb all the energy. So then the energy would be redirected and then he would just go faster, right? So the Team Flash would look like nothing would work, right? But then what happened is they found out his weakness. Negative Speed Force energy. Because he's a speedster, if he gets injected with enough negative Speed Force energy, he should lose his connection to the Speed Force. Oh wait, no, scratch that. They meet the guy who can steal those meta powers, and they use him and they transfer Devo's meta powers to Barry, so he's even faster now, right? And because of that, his disease is back. So then he finally goes after Ralph. So what happens is that Devo does a bunch of menacing. He makes an exoskeleton suit that can absorb electricity, take vibe energy, and equally distribute it at the suit, so one major part wouldn't be broken. It was strong enough to to um uh be strong enough to resist the Killer Frost's frost powers for a short time. It could take in energy, like if a speedster was punching him, it could absorb some of that energy and inject it back into the thinker. He would use velocity. He would use velocity X to give himself a boost and a bunch of tachyon enhancers. And then after his connection was ended the first time, and then he got it back. And then once he was lost again, he decided to go up against all the metas again, and he took all the powers and then Ralph's powers, right? And then his name would only be revealed in the finale, and we would actually never see his face, right? With Cicada, he should have been able to mimic Meta's powers. What he would do is that whenever his dagger would pass by a meta-human, it would absorb some of the dark matter they had, only some of it, and then replicate the power. And then it would come back to Cicada, and then it would go into his body, allowing him to mimic any meta power he wanted. And it could even do it to multiple metas at the same time, right? But it wouldn't last long, as that dark matter would easily run out, because the energy that would dampen meta powers, which you can call some fancy or goofy name, the Cicada 2 energy that she uses against the Flash when her dagger is gone, that it slowly destroys dark matter. So with the Flash, if he was exposed to the dagger for long enough, his meta powers would be gone. But since he only does a fight, his dark matter just grows. It just comes back, right? It grows back, right? So Cicada should have been able to shortly mimic other meta powers only for a short time, and then nullify other meta powers too, right? And also his backstory was kind of bad. It's kind of bland. So what we could have done was that he's not mad at the Flash, he's mad at the Thinker, right? Because the Thinker was a meta-human, and he's like, if that stupid meta didn't have his powers, he would never be fast or smart enough to create those machines, that machine, that satellite that injured my niece. And his problem is that a meta could just turn. The Flash could just one day turn and go evil, and there was nothing regular citizens could do to stop it. So there was no guarantee that heroes that were metas would actually stay heroes, right? So in the beginning, he would go after bad metas, people who were going to go to lockup and kill him, right? But then after the Flash tries to stop him, he's like, why would the Flash be trying to stop me? I'm doing a public service. Then he starts to think that maybe the Flash is actually working with the underground crime ring so he can make money. So he tries to go after him, and he thinks that those other heroes are his associates. Right? But what happens is that his body's flooded with dark matter, so he gets more and more crazy, right? What happens is that the more dark matter, the more times he copies meta powers, the more dark matter he gets into his systems, the more into his system, and the more dark matter and originally it's fine, right? But then eventually he just gets too much, more than his body can handle. So he slowly starts to go crazy. His body can't handle this dark matter energy, and a lot of it's going into his brain, making him crazy, right? Right? But he manages to counteract this, right? He realizes that, hey, how much body can my dark matter handle? But because of how crazy he is, he just forgets it. But then he finds something out. When he's doing an ambush at Star Labs, he goes to Gideon. Right? And he stole us. How do I say this? What happened was that he told Gideon that the Flash was about to be killed, and gave her proof. Made her watch the security cameras and said, if you don't give me the information I want, he'll die. So Gideon agrees. And he manages to receive a copy of Dr. Wells's brain. Apparently, Dr. Wells's second plan was to make a digital copy of himself that would be locked inside of Gideon, and that it would only be awoken around the 25th century, so he could actually be back in the future, right? So he quickly takes a USB that's in Star Labs while the Flash has passed out and copies this. And he manages to isolate Dr. Wells's intelligence and manages to increase it. Two, he manages he puts a camera in the Flash's suit. He buys a camera so small and attaches it to Flash's suit that he couldn't notice. Right, and then he makes a big taunt saying, I got Dr. Wells's intelligence. Ha ha, you can't stop me. So the heroes are too preoccupied. Then he learns more about the 25th century when the whole Dawn ordeal happened, and he learns a bunch of future knowledge that's explained to the Flash. And he puts that into Dr. Wells's intelligence, making it smarter. And using the device that Harry made, he manages to upload Dr. Wells's intelligence into him, making him smarter. And this makes it really hard to defeat him. But then the whole ending happens. There's no Cicada 2, right? When Nora goes into Grace's mind, she agrees to the cure. She gets injected with it. He realizes that since now his niece is in a meta, she can't protect herself, and that if without her she would probably die. So he gives up on being a meta, takes the cure, but they learn that the dark matter in it's still active, which means if someone managed to make a room and just make a room that could if someone managed to steal the dagger, right, get some of that energy out of it, inject it into themselves, and then blast them full of dark matter, they would have control of the dagger again. So they decided to erase it, but they unknowingly released Eobard Thawne. And then Nora gets erased all that. I know it's a long video, but I just wanted to say that the Think is a good villain, but he's just not that menacing, right? Especially when he's on that chair, right? But yeah, that's just some ideas I quickly made up in like a couple of minutes, trying to improve Devo's character and make him look more menacing. Peace.